Hello, I'm really excited to be with you today. This is the second time that we're doing Feature Friday. I've got a lot of people that I want to feature, and today I'm really excited to bring to you Brianne. She is known as the People Engineer, which I think is really creative because it's like combining two kind of polar opposite things, people and then engineering. And so I'm excited to bring her to you so she can tell us more about what it's been like being an engineer, being in the industry, and the things that she's done, has been able to do, and then how she's been able to bring her full self so that she can really step into her brilliance. And she's going to give you some suggestions based on lessons that she's learned as to how you can do the same. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an international speaker, a manufacturing consultant, and an engineering founder of not one, but two successful businesses. She applies engineering methodologies to solve everyday people problems. Isn't that like so innovative? I think that's the coolest thing ever. And so she's been able to work at the intersection of STEM career trajectory and personal development with like nonprofit services, and especially to empower women and Black, Indigenous people of color. So she's got over 10 years of continuous improvement and a lifetime of resilience. Isn't that amazing? I can't wait for you to share with us, Brianne, some of the things that you have had to overcome as a woman, as Latina in engineering, and also what has helped you build that resilience, and then some golden nuggets as to how others can do it too, who are in similar positions right now. So she's known for her real talk and being relatable. I'm all about keeping it real as well. So we're going to have a great time here. And so feel free to ask any questions as they pop up. And then you can also message her, message me if there's anything else that you need from us to help you succeed, especially if you are an underrepresented, talented human being in STEM and engineering in particular. So Brianne, tell us more about you and the People Engineer. That's so creative.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Dr. Lizette. Like you said, it's really exciting and I love following your content. So even to have me today, which is, National Manufacturing Day, is huge. There's not many women, not many Latinas in manufacturing. So to really just show up again, like I do exist, we're not as many unicorns as we would like to think. But yeah, I originally grew up from South Texas. I'm fourth generation Tejana. So even exploring what that means, my entire life of, we're talking about intersectionality or owning your Latinidad and, just your identity and sense of self has always been something, that I was both proud of and struggled with. Growing up in South Texas, it was very much a politically charged town, sometimes straight up racist. And, growing up with a single mother, it was really hard because then I didn't have a name. We didn't have socioeconomic status. There wasn't anything like big to who I was other than just who I am and, who I was raised to be as a person. So really struggling with how I showed up in the world, but also understanding like the intrinsic value I had, just relating to people. Funny enough, I grew up on stage singing since I was 3 because I just felt this is something I can connect, to people. And it was just a beautiful opportunity for me to see, to be felt, and also to see and hear others as well. So that sense of personal connection has always been something that has driven me, as well as my curiosity, just about the world and how it works and why we work the way we do. I remember looking at a chair, probably in elementary, and I thought, man, how cool. Like there's a plastic part, there's a metal part, and there's these buttons that hold it together. It doesn't grow on a tree like that. So to be asking all of these questions, my mom was very much mechanically inclined, and to find my way through engineering, opened up so many doors, really allowed me to pursue all of my passions, to stay curious, to connect with people, and essentially to solve people problems, which then led to the People Engineer. I've been in manufacturing for the last 10 years, in almost every industry, I want to say, of, through defense, through design, pressure vessels, through aerospace manufacturing, and then even automotive manufacturing. And so I really have a passion for helping small, medium manufacturing companies, floors to actually start scaling up and really getting down to the root cause of, how do you attain for your people the right instructions, the right work instructions, the right policies and procedures, and set systems in place. And where that all kind of started the two businesses is I was already doing that with my company. And the more that I was realizing I was doing it in my everyday personal life really helps create a foundation of success for me. We know humans are complex creatures. No two people are the same, but to have this kind of basis of an audit, of an understanding of what we're working with really sets you up for having a plan to move forward.
Well, that's so interesting. I'm just connecting the dots here and thinking about how important what you went through during childhood, having all these different variables, how they have played a role in your life and who you are today. So right from the start, you were someone who was curious and was very interested in people, and you connected with people through your voice. And then also you had a very curious mind in terms of how things worked mechanically. And so it makes perfect sense how both of those two have followed you to date as an adult woman, and how it started during childhood. And I just want to make it so clear, like, if you don't believe that when children say, I want to grow up and be this, that there's something to it, like those are their initial beliefs and interests and passions that you need to not put down, but to think about, okay, well, like, how can we foster this more? And it sounds like you also had a very supportive mom, a single mom at that, who probably had a lot to do, right? That
Yep.
she believed in you and she supported you. And that is just so important. And not enough people have that from the beginning. Not enough people have that support since childhood. And then,
Absolutely.
yeah, and even less so, the support that supports them for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want, and then also, the area that you grew up with in, it sounds like there weren't as many opportunities there, maybe, in South Texas. And
Yeah,
so,
I think that the main issue is, again, that's like the societal expectation. You said it
yeah,
perfectly with, like even kids, we tell them be quiet, don't touch things, like sit down, don't explore. And again, we don't use those words, but we're kind of limiting, what the world is open to them. And exactly to your point, the more that we foster that and say, like, go out, try things, just try to stay safe, or, be conscious of your decisions, is different, situation than saying like, oh, we don't belong there, or don't touch that. That's not for you. Then it starts creating that mindset of limitations. I'm only allowed to do this much. I'm only allowed to be in these spaces, or I don't see people that look like me in those rooms. So that must mean I don't belong there.
Mhm. At what point did you start to have any of those kinds of thoughts?
Yeah, well, you mentioned my mom, which she was such a huge inspiration. And again, I feel like, I wouldn't be the person I am without her, but she very much was with a growth mindset. Anything and everything I wanted, I could do. She just said, as long as you work hard and you're willing to be nice to people, you treat people well, like you will be rewarded. People will, see your hard work. As long as you let people know your purpose and your reasoning for doing what you want to do, others around you will either support you. And unfortunately, gave me the hard lesson of not everyone's going to like you either. And so I think with her instilling that, you can do anything, I had this limitless, just mindset. I remember sitting on the kitchen table when, again, I was probably 5, 6, 7, and, kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I thought, well, I want to help people. Like, I want to be a doctor. And I thought, well, I want to be a singer. Like, I love singing. I want to be famous and travel the world and do all these things. And then I thought, well, I really enjoy teaching. Like, I thought it'd be cool to learn stuff and be able to share that with others. But wait, I want to be a photographer. Like, I love taking pictures. And, so there's like these 4 totally different career trajectories. I thought, oh my gosh, how can I choose? There's just so many cool things you can do. And so my momo, my grandma, my mom's mom, sat there on the kitchen table with me and my mom, and they were like, conjuring up all these ideas. Well, you know what? You could go to doctor school because like that's the longest, and you have to get a degree in that. And while you're in school, like you can take pictures, and on the weekends, and like you can do gigs as a singer, and like that can help you pay for your your doctor school. And then whenever you travel as a traveling doctor, you can help people all over the world. And from what you learn, different cultures, you to take pictures and again help educate everyone else about what you learn and how you're doing. And they just painted this picture where I could fit all of it it, and I didn't have to just pick one. And so to your point, I think even where the outside world was telling me I couldn't, I still held on to this dream where I could make it work. Like I had everything available to me, all the resources of people who loved me and believed in me, and that they would sit there and help me, kind of strategize and make all the pieces work. So it wasn't until actually I started getting older, probably around middle school or high school. It's a big deal, again, to kind of call someone, by their ethnicity. In South Texas, calling someone a Mexican is a derogatory term. And so I hadn't even heard about, being Latin or being Hispanic. As thankfully I went through, Texas history in middle school around the same time, just kind of learning a mestizo, kind of a Hispanic mutt, and that's essentially what I identify with. But it was something that, people used it to try to attack me, to try to belittle me, to try to tell me, that who I was inside was bigger than the shell of skin or hair or brown eyes I was given. And so it only got worse as I went into college. I had professors tell me that they thought it was cute. I thought I could be there, that I was never going to make it. And so, yeah. And it even then, even now in industry, again, a few years ago, I shared how, we went on an international trip, and I was actually with two other of my Hispanic colleagues that, started making incredibly inappropriate jokes. We're glad a woman came with us to make our sandwiches. Then it made into sexual harassment kind of notions. And it's that type of stuff where unfortunately that's how our society says it's okay to function. It has for several decades, if not, since forever. And I'm really excited. It's unfortunate, all of the civil unrest, but we're finally having these hard conversations. We're finally setting healthy boundaries and saying you can or cannot talk to me like this. And so it's those type of things where, again, it kind of progressed as I got older. Whereas again, I was raised with unlimited opportunities.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize enough just how critical your first years of life are, because that's when your beliefs about who you are and what is possible are forming, and everything else stems from that. Now, I don't want to discourage anyone who maybe had a really tough childhood and didn't have supportive parents. But the next thing that you have to have is a really strong mentality, a strong sense of self. And so it sounds like you had both of those things. And it's just never too late for you to develop. Okay, we're back.
Okay, good. I was worried. I was like, oh no, myself, but glad you made it.
Okay.
But I completely agree. And I think, again, and I've even seen both, right? Again, I was very fortunate. I'm very grateful to have had the mother that I did, to help, ensure that I was raised like this. She would almost get after me if I started, downplaying myself, or she saw that, I wasn't being as loud or fun that I would be. And she was like, other people's opinions shouldn't matter that much, right? They don't know you. All you can do is control yourself. But on the flip side, my fiance is first generation, and so a lot of his conversations with his mom was that she didn't understand, or that there was an education of what she thought was best for him versus what he saw potential and opportunity in. And so, to your point, even if you don't have a supportive family, sometimes believing in yourself, taking that risk, helps others, because you're kind of breaking that mold, right? The family only knows what they only know, and it's not their fault. They're trying to protect you. They're trying to do the best that they can. But sometimes, unfortunately, again, we're given a dream, again, bigger than what we've had in the past. We're given an opportunity to maybe break outside of what is safe and normal or a home for us. And so that's something that's beautiful. Is my mom always told me, you can always go home. You don't know when you're going to have another opportunity like this come. So that was always something for me, as I always felt, okay, well, I can go fly. And if I fall on my face, I can always pack up and come home. So I think, again, that opportunity and that growth mindset, I'm excited that we're having much more conversations and understanding limiting beliefs, negative self-talk. How are you showing up for yourself? And even just being honest with self, what are your values, and what are you trying to achieve, and what does success look like for you? Because it's different for every single person.
That is so important. Success, how you define it, Now how others define it for you, not how you think you should define it, but how you really truly define it. And it's okay if that changes.
Exactly.
We are in different stages of life. We're not meant to stay the same. And sometimes our vision shifts. And as we grow, as we evolve, so can that. And it's okay. I think a lot of times people have a hard time letting go of something that no longer serves them or fulfills them because of sunk cost, because they dedicated so much time, energy, effort, blood, sweat, tears, and years
Yep.
doing that. But oh gosh, like what would you say to somebody? And I think, did that kind of happen to you,
Yeah,
actually?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think again, like it was kind of my engineering mindset switching on because I did, struggle with childhood trauma. Trigger warning, I guess, for anyone watching, that I was sexually abused as a child. I was emotionally abused as a child. I was physically abused, by different father figures. And so again, not only, like you said, growing up in those fundamental years of our life, but I was told you're beautiful, you're, limitless, you can do whatever you want. And then as I was getting older, from 8 to 12, again, having this happen to me was thinking, okay, so were you lying to me the whole time? Is this really what I'm worth? Is this something that I have to carry? And so it was a real internal struggle of kind of colliding those two worlds together. After 10 years of therapy, again, I kind of realized that I had unhealthy coping mechanisms, and trying to move through that is always something, everyone has their own path. But I think for me, as I would start noticing, and again, kind of when I graduated, or even towards my last years, I thought, like I deserve this. I'm working incredibly hard. I was on academic probation. I had retaken several classes, a couple of times over. And I just thought, like, this is my dream and I'm holding on to it. And if it takes me, 10 years to graduate, then it takes me 10 years. But like, I'm not going to give up on this. And so the more that I thought I'm not going to give up on this and that dream, then I started realizing, well, how in ways am I giving up on myself? I realized I was in unhealthy relationships. I had my validation for myself and my self-worth carry on the guys I was dating, or, the friends that I thought I needed to have, those kind of popular circles. And it just became, okay, well, is this really fulfilling? Is this really the life I want? And asking these questions, again, therapy helped me wonders, to really just settle in. Okay, is this what you really want? Starting with a clear foundation of what do you like, picture the life that you want, and then start kind of chipping away at it, one thing at a time. What can you kind of dabble in to get kind of two birds with one stone kind of situation. And then I thought, okay, well, let me utilize, my engineering principles of, again, auditing and setting up a process, what's working, what isn't working, kind of experimenting, taking notes, going back and looking at the data to help me drive those changes forward in my personal life. And that's where I found an incredible success.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that, because a lot of times people think that if you demonstrate a certain level of success, that it's because you had it perfectly, that
Mm-hmm.
you didn't go through any obstacles. Um, we all go through obstacles to varying degrees of intensity, severity, and duration. The only guarantee you have of failure is if you give up.
Exactly.
And so resilience is such an important trait that we need to really nurture. And it sounds like, that's something that you are really great at, being resilient. Because a lot of people, I think, having gone through what you have gone through, wouldn't be where you are today, unfortunately.
Well,
Um,
thank you. That I take that that compliment very genuinely. It means the world to me. And I will say exactly as you mentioned. So many people think, oh, well, they just had it easy, or it was, just a straight shot for them the whole time. And that's kind of the whole reason why I started the People of Engineers, creating this brand around me, just simply sharing when I have hard days, when I, have panic attacks, like, whether or not you're diagnosed with, a mental health issue or diagnosis, doesn't diminish the fact that we all have a human experience. Emotions are real, trauma is real, big T or little t. And so having to work through, just being a human, there's no instruction manual. We all respond differently. And even just learning to process what it is that you need to process, it is something that's very, again, like it's unique. And so I think, to your point of just acknowledging what you're working through, how you're going through it, is a huge opportunity. And like I said, just kind of slowing down to give yourself that time, whether or not you feel resilient or not, it's all kind of just how you continue to show up for yourself. Like, we're going to fall, we're going to scrape our knees, you're going to have maybe a mental breakdown here or there, that's all kind of part of being human.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we can't escape from these challenges, these hurdles. They're going to be there, especially if you are playing a bigger game, especially if you want more than the average person. You're going to experience a lot more rejection, stumbling blocks. That's inevitable. You can't do anything about that. I mean, you can, but at the end of the day, it happens. And I think the thing that's most important is your interpretation of what that means. If you see a problem as it meaning something negative about you and that you don't have what it takes, or as you see it as maybe a science experiment where you're like, okay, this ingredient didn't work, let me try something else, let me tweak this. But rather than taking it personally and meaning that you just don't have what it takes, I think that's what's really going to help people to get to where they want to go and where they can go, if they're able to overcome a lot of these challenges that they don't interpret as indication that they just don't have what it takes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wow. Can you maybe share a story of something that maybe almost made you not continue in something? Like, give us some insight into that. Can you share something?
Absolutely. And I will say, because again, school was already just incredibly painful and really hard. Again, outside of just, engineering in general, right? Like, engineering is the 2% of math, the 2% of the world know that level of math. And so on top of, again, having to deal with this and learning about myself, I want to say, like, learning and growing into the human you want to be is already, a big burden to take on, a task to overcome and work through, on top of, like I said, some of the hardest concepts you could ever learn. So with that, I think school kind of really prepared me for life. was a big part of that. And then additionally, I think, when I got laid off, it was actually in 2016. Again, I had my dream job. I was traveling the world. Again, I could not have imagined. I had, over 110, of my beautiful, I couldn't imagine better clients all over the world, with airlines. And again, like I said, just being able to travel and problem solve and, troubleshoot on site, hands-on, was just so beautiful for me. And I got let go. And it was the beginning of 2016. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm 26 years old. Like, what am I going to do? Thankfully, I have a really strong network with SHIP, leading Hispanics in STEM, and had 2 mentors or friends of mine actually reach out and say, hey, like, I know you're probably devastated. You use this time to your advantage, slow down, take, inventory of what you really want, what you absolutely loved about your jobs over the last, few years. What did you really enjoy? Like, just really envision again what your future could look like. And so this was kind of, again, that second or third time I had kind of done this practice, or someone asked me to do that. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know where, again, it came from, but I've always had this dream of owning an international consulting firm, of hiring consultants where I can constantly learn and travel and, again, help problem solve, help people really get that foundational clarification. And so I started my own consulting firm, even just learning how to start a business. Thankfully, Dallas here in DFW has a lot of great resources, and the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, a lot of great networks. So I just started going to events. I started researching. I kind of started making my own business plan. All of that to say, I was getting the ball rolling. It was all exciting and fun. And my fiance was taking the professional engineering exam. So it was very stressful for both of us. He's, like I mentioned earlier, first generation. So he feels that weight of like being able to provide for our family. And we just clashed. And we had been together for about 1.5 years at this point, and it was just the lowest point of our relationship. He didn't feel like I was making enough progress that he felt I needed to make. We were not communicating as well as we had been. And so to kind of have like, what is my professional dream really going to temper with, the man of my dreams? And it just wasn't working. So as you mentioned earlier, having that support system makes the world of a difference. It almost didn't happen. Like I said, I started my business. We were going back and forth. Funny enough, at the beginning of the next year, my fiance even said, well, I love you and I respect you enough to say, like, I want you to pursue this, but like, it's just not working for us. And then around the same time, we really just kind of said, let's just take some time. Let's see, where this takes us if we just kind of try in different ways, and things really started to align. So with that, again, I ended up going back into industry while I was kind of building more momentum or gaining more clients. But the harsh reality is, again, there's so many different pieces of our life, and to make sure that the stars align and everything is working in a forward motion is usually not the case. So that was something that was very hard, very heart-wrenching. Again, I call him my fiance now, so we obviously made it out the other side, but it was certainly a really rough time. So to have something so exciting and so like visionary becoming in the works for me, and yet feel like it was causing strain and stress with my partner, it was really difficult.
Gosh, there's so much that you just said there. And the thing that stands out, in addition to you being very resilient, is being very resourceful. So you figure it out. You are resilient. You don't let a setback hold you back. You come back with a comeback.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can just imagine what it must have been like for you to have been laid off. And if it's anything like a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, I didn't see this coming. Well, I kind of did, but I didn't think it happened to me. I thought that my work, showed that I was worthy. Maybe I'm not. After all I did for them, I feel like I'm just a number at the end of the day. And it really messes with them. It messes with their sense of worth, their sense of they start to protect themselves, but then they're like, well, do I really have what it takes after all? And logically, it might make sense. Like, okay, well, at the end of the day, business is business, right? They got to worry about the numbers. But there's still a voice in the back of your head that makes you wonder, well, why me? If I were that good, this wouldn't have happened. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many variables, and most of the time, you're not the reason, right? And I don't know if you had any of those kinds of thoughts. But I wonder what you might suggest to people if they're having.
Absolutely. And I think, again, I'm talking to Dr. Lizette here. So, thinking about what goes into that, right? And really asking yourself, like, why am I, again, beating myself up, right? Again, this isn't a situation outside of myself. Like you said, even for me, like I was, a great employee. I was getting along with my boss. Funny enough, my boss is even the one that got let go. So of a group of 5, we had 4 account managers and then a manager, and the director let go of myself, another, and again, our supervisor, which was just crazy. And so we were doing good work. I mean, we were even in over our heads, but again, the business sense make business sense, and they had to make cuts. And so, they had to shift and adjust. So again, going from a team of 5 to 2, again, is a hard decision they made. I don't think the other 2 were better employees than me. It's just kind of how the chips fell. But exactly to what you mentioned, those words of why me? Am I not worth it? I can't hack it. Unfortunately, that's where our ego comes from, right? Where it's like, I want to lick my wounds, poor me. It's easy to fall into the victim, mentality, the world is happening to me. When in reality, like I said, for me, I definitely, it felt like a gut punch. Again, this was my dream job. I'm not going to lie. I cried probably 3 days straight, right? Like, oh God, you're teasing me. You gave me this beautiful gift and took it right from me. But similarly, it was, okay, what can I do with this opportunity? Thank God I got a severance package. So again, I had time off to really kind of just figure things out. I had already had savings. My car was paid off, so I'm grateful there were blessings that set me up for that situation. And again, I was very strategic about it. I worked hard to put myself in that situation. So there's always, I think, that part of, what do they say? I guess good luck is preparation, and then being at the right time at the right place. And so it's those type of things where, unfortunately, some things are not going to work in your favor. Misfortune is a reality. Sometimes you just have bad luck, and that's okay. I think, to your point, the long-term standing perception of how we look at it, of how we show up, is going to make the world of a difference. So having that self-assuredness, I said, that intrinsic self-worth, I know I bring value. This is what I'm passionate about. This is, what I geek out about and I can learn about all day. And unfortunately, like I said, fortunately for me, a lot of people hate processes. They hate operations. They hate audits or documentation. So that's the type of stuff where, hey, I can take that burden from you. It'll actually be a gift and enjoyable for me. And and then that's an exchange, right? You pay me to take this woe away from you.
I don't like that stuff.
Exactly. Take it off
I'm
my
like,
plate. I'm helping you, right? I'm solving a problem. And that's the kind of beautiful thing where you can show up for yourself. All of us have value. All of us have our tribe, our people who get it. And again, it may take time for you to kind of weed those out, or like you said, we evolve, we change. But I think that's the beauty of life, is it's this fun thing we get to do, right? It's not this, oh, I have to do it. Like it's truly a gift. Of all the things in the world that could have happened, I'm made up of the same atoms that's, this computer screen in front of me. And yet I get to be a thinking, living, feeling being. I mean, it's just beautiful how, and I'm very appreciative that that's how, again, the universe decided to happen. So I think, again, just putting things in perspective makes a world of a difference. And again, as we were mentioning earlier, to not beat yourself up when you have those negative thoughts. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel frustrated. And again, I think learning how to process and work through that, or even use it as fuel, is where you have a huge opportunity to really grow and shine.
It's so interesting. I just had a thought. So, I publish quite a bit in scientific journals, and people sometimes ask me, like, how do you do that? Like, there she goes again. And I'm like, dude, if you knew how many times I had to put that out there, how many times I got thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I tell people, you only have a front row seat to people's lives. You don't have a backstage pass to what they're going through. Yeah. And so, like, I think that's just so important for people to understand, because you're familiar with what your struggles are, your pain is. You're not familiar with others, and so you start to compare yourself and wonder whether you have what it takes compared to other people. And the more successful you are, the more susceptible you become, to feeling this way, because guess what? You're surrounded by even more successful people, and you only get to see what is going well, not really what is not going well. Why? Because it's pretty vulnerable. People have a hard time opening up like you're doing. They don't want to be perceived as weak. They don't want to have another strike against them. Like, I'm already a woman. I'm already a person of color. I'm already this. I'm already that. Like, I need to act like I have it all together. And when you do that, it starts to become like it starts to feel like your neck is tight, because you've got it all kind of accumulating. And it's like, even like for some people, their throat starts to hurt. And I'm like, that's because you haven't allowed your voice to be heard. You're bottling it all in. You're going to get yourself sick physically and emotionally, psychologically. I'm like, you know what? I'm all about just people keeping it real. Like,
Yeah.
None of this facade stuff, none of this corporate mask, none of this, like, fake it till you make it. Live as if you are the person that you really are, even if the world says, no, you're not. Even if the world says gives you the side eye, like, thanks, but no thanks. The only guarantee is that if you believe it, like, after that, I mean, that's the only thing that is going to sustain you. At the end of the day, is if you don't give up, your worth, and you go out there and make it happen, even if others tell you you're not good enough.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, at the end of the day, even just consider the end of your life, right? Like, you are going to be the only one sitting there with yourself, and no one else is going to be sitting there with you, again, to discuss your thoughts, to discuss your accomplishments, to even, laugh at your failures. Like, no one else is going to be there but you, with yourself. And again, I think those last thoughts, those last days, those last hours, my biggest fear in life is to not have reached my potential, or to not have, gone after the things I really wanted to pursue and enjoy. Because again, like, as much as we want to believe there's something after this, like, we really don't know. So we only have one shot at this. Why not make it, worth every beautiful, crazy, messy moment? I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us know logically that, yeah, we only have one life. Yeah, I'm a third there, but we think that the days are short, but the days are long, but the years are short. And so, I mean, about to leave. I don't know about you, but how, we were, when I was, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2020 just felt so far, like, even saying it, it just felt foreign. It felt just weird. And it's come It's been a ride. It's been tough for a lot of people, and it's really make people reevaluate their life,
Mm-hmm.
where they've been, where they are, and where they want to go. And the last thing that I want is for this to just be a phase of where, where the whole world is in chaos and then business as usual. Like, really use this time to take a deep dive into who you are, what you want, what's holding you back, and what you need to do about it. I hear a lot of people talk about loyalty, like, well, like I have to do this because they're relying on me, they're counting on me. Yeah, I'm just, one more hour, I'm gonna work on this. And meanwhile, like, somebody you love is like, hello, what about me? And then it breaks my heart when I see them then be let go, like you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about earlier, or get passed up for something that they felt teased about, like a little carrot hanging over their head, like saying, you see this, you just got to do a couple more things. And so at the end of the day, the only person who is loyal to you is yourself. So be loyal to yourself first, because you were born in this world with yourself, unless you're like my kids, they're twins. So
They came with a partner.
yeah. And we're going to leave this world alone. It's sad. We don't really talk about that. And so really making the most out of your prime years, your prime life, your prime working years. And you mentioned earlier that your greatest fear is not reaching your full potential. Can you define what that means for you?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate what you had mentioned of, I think or I hear it so often, like, well, I'll show up for other people, but I don't show up for myself. I'm 150% guilty as well, right? If I have a meeting with you, like I'll show up. But if I have a meeting with myself on my calendar, for example, I have like a biweekly budget review, right? Let's just make sure all the bills are paid. If there's any extra cash or I can move into savings, am I hitting my goals? Dr. Lizette, I very rarely make that meeting with myself, right? And so that's some simple, even opportunity of improvement, as you had mentioned, we're here with ourselves, we leave with ourselves, and how sad, when in reality, that's how we look at it, right? I don't want to spend time with myself. How boring. I don't want to take myself to a movie. Like, I need to have someone to go with me. And in reality, like, you should enjoy, like, light up at the idea of spending time with yourself. What's funny is my fiance and I take time to just be alone. Like, hey, I'm going to be outside. Funny enough, like when COVID started, I like did a silent retreat. I was like, I just feel like I'm nonstop. I'm on all the time. I want to be quiet. I had been wanting to go to a retreat. Going somewhere is not an option. So I'm just going to sit outside with my yoga mat, and not read, not like be productive or functioning. I just don't want to do anything. I want to go for a walk, look at a tree, take a nap. Like, that's what I'm doing. And so it's something that simple, again, of these small tweaks of, rather than, oh, I have to do this, or poor me, I'm all by myself. Like, enjoy that, like, marvel in that, especially as a mother, right? Like, enjoy the time you don't have having to worry about, other humans or other individuals. And so I think with that piece, and to kind of get to your question of really moving past that, is really just being able to kind of show up for myself has been a huge just lesson, and I'm still learning. I haven't improved it, but really getting to that point, it takes a lot of work. And to know, again, the type of value you have, to slow down again and do that assessment. What are things I'm good at? Funny enough, I even made a list of, the things I love about my fiance and the things I love about myself. There's a lot of differences and there's a lot of similarities. He's a hardcore planner. He has, a plan for everything. And that's why I have to work. I enjoy plans because it doesn't come, as I want to say natural to me, because I'm such a sporadic, adventurous person. So when I learn, oh, I can like have block timing and then time to kind of follow my energy, then it allows me to be more productive because I kind of have those systems in place to allow me to be successful. But I'm building them around the person that I have taken time to learn that I am. I'm not beating myself up because I can't pull all-nighters. That's just not me. I schedule time to be able to play music because I know if I don't do that, I feel like a piece of my soul is missing. Whereas other people want to watch Netflix or go out for drinks, that doesn't fill my soul the same way as sitting outside, with my guitar does. So again, kind of building, I almost want to say like the perfect internal house for me. People have their own preferences of colors or carpets or windows. And I need to understand like what's going to work for me best, what's going to fuel me, and what's going to really make me feel safe and at home.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. I really like how you are really embracing what self-care looks like for you. When was it? So I had a birthday in May, and what I wanted to do for my birthday, because I'm an introvert, is I just wanted to go to a hotel room by myself for 5 days.
There you go.
And people, when I like share that with people, they were like, "Are you crazy? That's weird." Like, and my mom, she's like, "Why are you gonna go to a hotel room if you have a house?" And she's working class,
Hmm.
first generation, and so it just doesn't make logical sense. Like, this is a luxury that you're trying to do here, and besides, you've got 3 kids. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'll be honest, I felt like I started to tell myself, like, oh, can I not have this? Do I really
Yeah.
have to wait until my 6-year-olds and my 3-year-old going on 13 are out the house? And I was like, you know what? I made sure this is all done. I got this, and that. I can go away for 5 days, because guess what? When I come back, I'm going to be rejuvenated, and y'all are going to have a better woman in the house. So
Yep.
this is for
Exactly.
you. And so, just the guilt thing, I think, is a lot, something that a lot of people struggle with, especially if they're very ambitious. Like, some people are like, you know what? Why are you always chasing something? Like, can you just like slow down? Or it's one thing or another. And if you listen to too many voices, you start to get confused. Like, the more people you ask for their opinion, the more options you're going to get, and the more confused you're going to get, and then the more stuck you're going to feel. So listening to the people who understand you, who get you, and even like family and friends might mean well, but unless they've gone through what you've gone through, like my parents know what I do, but they don't really know what I do. They didn't even go to high school. And so I'm like,
Yep.
I don't even know how to explain what I do. Like, I, I get paid to help people, and it doesn't require manual labor. I just speak. I just share my thoughts, my advice, and it just doesn't register for them. And so not everybody's going to get you, because one, they just haven't gone through what you've gone through. Two, they're not you. Um, and so, like, getting really clear on who you are and what you want, and what reaching your full potential looks like for you is really important. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think it makes a huge difference, when, I mean, not that I think, I know, I mean, anything, right? If you have alignment and things are focused in on one area, or everything is pushing to this one idea, this objective, and this result. And this is, again, where the engineering side comes in, because I'm a lean Six Sigma, nerd, is like, where do you cut away the fat? Like, where are you spending resources or energy where you could be applying to help you get further, or, more momentum towards your goals? Like, how can we get that acceleration rather than splintering out in multiple directions? And again, I think it's, again, the world, like you mentioned, the people, we have so many distractions, so many things that could hold us back. And it is, again, you're swimming upstream, you're, fighting against the grain. But I think that then that's the importance of finding and holding on to that, because if you have that roadmap, that blueprint, again, things are going to change. It's not set in stone, but that's something that you can hold on to keep pushing you forward. And again, like, we will falter. There's time to pivot. Maybe even there's some time to call it quit. But again, if you never stop trying, then you never quit. You're just not there yet. And that's why I always hold on to the beauty, the power of yet.
Hmm. It's kind of like college. When we enrolled, we didn't wonder if we were actually going to graduate.
Hmm.
We didn't know exactly what to expect, especially if you're the first in your family to have gone to college. But you just knew that if 4 years later you would get that degree, or 5 years, however long it took, whatever your
Hmm.
journey is. Not every destination is led by the same path. And so, you know, I don't know about you, but I mean, I guess there are people who doubt going into it if they're going to make it, but I didn't doubt that. I knew that I would do it. I just would, and I knew wouldn't be perfect, but as long as I had that will, and I was resourceful, like, it was going to get done. It's a done deal. I've said it.
Hmm.
It's done. It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
So, what would you say to someone who right now is feeling kind of not at their best? Like, they thought they had it, they had what it took, and now they're starting to wonder. And just it's like one thing after another that they keep, confronting. And, it's exhausting, and it's affecting them, not just mentally, but personally, professionally. How can we leave them with some hope, or what advice would you give them as we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say, again, first and foremost, I highly encourage, if you haven't already done so, or if you hadn't heard about, to do just a simple life audit. And that's, again, where like I really enjoy this. There's actually a free resource, so I'll leave it here in the comments later. But where you actually just look up Life Wheel, and you can actually do an audit. Like, where am I at? Where do I kind of grade myself? And again, it's totally to you. Only you can, no wrong answers. But really just identifying kind of the multiple hats we wear, the expectations we put on ourselves, the titles, again, mom, daughter, fiance, chef, you name it, right? We all have these multiple things we're wearing, the multiple hats. And I think to slow down and give yourself that grace. Okay, like, am I at a 5 right now? Right. Again, my fiance and I, we ate out, for a couple of weeks straight. And that was something, well, hey, we were just busy, like eating at home or saving that money. Thankfully, we had that resource to kind of pull in for us in that time of need, and so just acknowledging like, hey, we'd like to eat in more often, but we had, again, to kind of give up that resource. We didn't get to have dinners together because we were all over the place. And so just acknowledging, again, everything is temporary, right? We're always evolving and always changing, but remembering, and this is kind of my life motto, that everything in life is a choice. So you choose. If you're burned out, if you're stressed out, like you said, I even used to use the analogy of like, I just felt like boulders were just being thrown at me one at a time and one at a time. And then I thought, okay, well, just the situation of feeling that analogy, like, am I standing there? Am I asking for boulders? Am I setting myself up? Maybe I'm pulling a rope and bringing them all on myself. So really just taking the time to acknowledge either what's working against you, maybe what's working for you. Maybe you're not asking for help, right? Raising a flag. I know that's something we all personally struggle with, is just saying like, I don't have it all together. I need help. Whether that looks like, again, talking to your partner, talking to your parents, talking to your kids, hey, mommy's having a hard day. Like, we're going to need to like have time out, mommy. Like, mommy's not here this evening because like I have to catch up with my work. Or talking to your partner and say like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't show up cleaning today. Like, can it wait for this weekend? Or, just giving yourself that grace and asking, hey, I don't have the capacity, the energy level, the mental space. Asking for help is kind of the biggest strength we can show up for ourselves. And additionally, to give yourself that grace to show up for yourself, as you mentioned earlier, right? In this conversation of looking out for yourself, being loyal and making yourself a priority, that you're the only person that can make that call. So acknowledging, not trying to push yourself. If you need a couple of days rest, take a couple of days rest, stay in your pajamas, do nothing but sleep, eat healthy food. And even that, I think, kind of in the foundational, very psychologically, right, of thinking about the basic things. Are you drinking enough water? Are you moving your body? Or even finding little things to celebrate in life. If you enjoy dancing, have a dance party in your living room. If you enjoy, having balloons, it's something I'll do. I'll just blow up balloons and have them all over my living room because it makes me happy. I don't need to wait for a birthday or for Easter. And so these little things that kind of trigger us of, we can have these little, wins and have celebrations. But at the end of the day, like, you choose long-term what that looks like. If you're stressed out, if you're overworked, overwhelmed, take a break, see about options to either see your way out or even just make a plan. Sometimes, I always say like, hope is an action word. It is not a feeling. Hope is you having a plan and being able to hold on to that vision and making these small incremental changes to get you closer to kind of what that success or that result looks like.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So many great nuggets there. And the one that stands out to me the most is, well, there's two of them actually. There's a lot of them, but I'll just
Thank you.
the one is don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength. Because you are brave enough to say, "Hey, I'm kind of sinking right now. I need help." And the other thing is the burnout. That thing is real, and making sure that, I don't know if you're familiar with the 80-20 principle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I live by that. So making sure that you're clear on the top 20% of the things that are going to yield 80% of the results that matter the most, because we only have 24 hours in a day. 8 of them you should be sleeping. The other 8 of them you should be working, or less if possible. And the other 8 you should be doing something with your life, like things that make you feel happy. And like massages do it for me, whether if it's Netflix and chill, hey, no judgment, whatever works for you. And so really getting the help that you need, and then making sure you're spending your time effectively, efficiently, so that you don't live in regret when you're 80 years old. Like, oh my gosh. Because nobody's going to say, I wish I would have worked longer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to encourage people, if they want to learn more about you, to reach out to you. You can come back if you have a chance to write in the comments where people can reach you. I know you have a podcast. What's the name of it?
Yeah, the People Engineer podcast.
Of course, right? The People Engineer podcast. I love it. And so, connect with her with Brianne on LinkedIn. Send her a message if you resonated with her story, and check out her podcast. Anything else you wanted to add, Brianne?
Sure. Like I said, that this is something I do. Again, my podcast is focused on life, career, and growth. Again, I'm grateful to have had the blessing to be an international speaker. So I give talks on this, also workshops, conferences. So again, kind of bringing these type of methodologies, these life audits, but again, much more personal approach for understanding the individuals in the room, having these deeper conversations that we're sometimes afraid to have with ourselves. And that's kind of, again, where the real talk happens. I've been there, I've done it, I got the t-shirt, and I want to make sure that what I've learned or what has helped me, that you can able to hopefully learn from that or show up for yourself in some different way. So again, any type of engagements, or again, if you'd like for me to talk to you or your group, I'm happy to do so. And then additionally, again, happy manufacturing day. Like I said, being able to be a manufacturing consultant and utilizing these tools, audits, qualities, processes, documentations is what I'm really passionate about and what I enjoy doing. And so, yeah, like I said, if you need some type of help in that department or that reign, again, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to support, and again, hopefully take that burden off of you.
Awesome. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're able to really embrace both the people and the mechanical, the engineering aspect. So very unique. I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us. I've learned so much speaking with you. It was a breath of fresh air, and thank you so much.
Thank
All
you
right,
for
everyone.
having me,
Until next
Dr.
time.
Lizette. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. You too.